Hi, everybody. Welcome to July 16th's MakerDAO community call. My name is David. I'm the community development lead here at Maker, and I host these calls every week. And I hope to facilitate conversations in our community, conversations with guests that are building in our ecosystem. I also put together an agenda every week, and we kind of cover the ins and outs of what's been going on in the Maker universe for the last week. So, with all that being said, we don't have a guest today, but I could definitely launch into some of the stuff that's been going on in Maker this week. And I think today's community call is a little bit dry because of the Calibra hearings. So the recording is for you, for those that missed it. We post this on YouTube every week, and so you could tune in even if you can't make the call live. So jumping right into it. Hey, Mariana, if you don't mind, I'm just gonna mute you for a second because I keep getting.
Sure. Oh, sure. Sorry.
All right, sweet. So I'm gonna cover some stuff first in the land of governance. So this week we saw an executive vote go live on Friday, July 12th, and it passed on the 13th with about 31,000 MKR in support of a raise by 2% to 20.5% stability fee per year. And with that change that happened on the 13th, we saw a very rapid decline in the Dai supply, which is exactly what Maker holders were aiming for. If you've been following the analytics and all the kind of Dai-metric pages like Dai Decipher and Dai Peg and all those places that show how the peg is doing, it's been consistently below. And so Maker holders are trying to affect that by passing the higher stability fee increases, and it's working. So the supply is shrinking, and presumably oversupply will go down as a result. And what makes it even better this week is that Instadap launched their compound to MakerDAO bridge. So people on Maker who want to refinance, but who don't want to go through the million steps that it requires to do so manually, now have a super easy solution to do that. And actually, I saw a really awesome graph. Maybe I could pull it up really quick, actually. I saw a really awesome graph of the amount of Dai that got refinanced from Maker to Instadap. And actually, I could just share my screen for a second and show you guys. But obviously, this chart looks a bit ridiculous because the amount as of recent went up so high. But as you could see, I think the bridge launched at around the last week, earlyish last week, so like around the 7th or the 9th. And you could see immediately after it launched, the volume of Dai just kind of skyrocketed, especially with this last stability fee raise to 20.5%. You saw millions, almost 3 million Dai refinanced into Compound. So people who were borrowing from Maker are now borrowing from Compound, and this is just super exciting to see. It's just so fluid, and it gets me excited. So I'm happy to look at graphs like that. So besides that, we had a governance poll that began yesterday at noon Eastern Standard Time. There's options for MKR voters to vote on, ranging from 16.5% to lower the stability fee to 16.5%, all the way to raising it to 24.5%. So there's, I think, 9 options as usual. And the vote should conclude right before Thursday's governance and risk call. So the governance polls usually last for 3 days. And so right now, Maker holders are deciding on the next step for the stability fee. And there's a lot of talk in the coming weeks about eventually having one of these governance polls be about the debt ceiling. But I think the urgency for that has declined because of the decline in the Dai supply in general. So I think we're fine on that front for now. But I'm sure it'll be discussed more in the forums and in the call. So besides that, we had our 43rd governance and risk meeting on last Thursday, on July 11th. The summary, the thread, everything has been posted. And for those of you that don't know, we are moving away from using the subreddit r/mkr.gov in preference for the new forum that we launched. MakerDAO's forum. It's forum.makerdao.com, and it's a way better place to kind of keep track of governance conversations. There's a polling mechanism in there. There's a there's light like reputation system in there, and a lot of our community has already migrated over, and there's a ton of great threads and a lot of really rich activity. So I definitely encourage you guys, if you're interested in Maker governance, to join that forum instead of MKR.gov, and participate. So so now from now on, those meeting summaries are going to be posted there rather than MKR.gov, and the summary thread on MKR.gov is just going to point. It's going to link you to the forum.makerdao.com thread. So besides that, there's some other stuff going on in governance. The user Long for Wisdom has been doing awesome work talking and polling the community about the meta for coordinating collateral due diligence. This is in line with a couple of things that have come out in the last month, and a lot of, and basically in line with also what we've been talking about on the governance and risk calls for about the last month, which is onboarding new collateral. And with multi-collateral Dai coming in the near future, it is about time that Maker governance and the community starts taking collateral onboarding seriously. And so the thread there that Long for Wisdom posted is talking about just that, what the standards are, what the first wave of collateral is, how do we decide between all of these different choices, and also he outlined just a couple of roles in the community for people that want to participate, and he hilariously named them revered sleuth herder, which is kind of like a project manager who like takes all of the details for the collateral research side, right? And puts them together and sees what's not there, what's there, and kind of manages the super sleuths, which are the regular community members who are just doing various research about those particular tokens. And so, yeah, there's a thread there. Participate. Tell us if you think it's a good idea. Tell us if you think it's a bad idea. But we are coming to self-organize as a community to try to make the best decisions in the most efficient way. And so, yeah. Besides that, we also saw this week in the land of governance, Alex Evans from Placeholder VC. He published a wonderful paper, which was it was basically a risk model for MakerDAO. I'm just going to read the notes I have here. So, as an attempt to further the conversation on risk management in Maker, as well as the broader DeFi ecosystem, we are releasing a preliminary risk framework for the Maker system. Lastly, and Alex made it a point that he's of the opinion that if the framework is not debated and iterated on, it's going to be less useful to the community, and the work is really just a starting point for future extensions, revisions, and rewrites. So check out the PDF. It's there in the agenda. If you guys joined the call a little late, I'm just going to post the doc that I'm working from here. Actually, that might be the wrong link. It's this link. Yeah. So yeah, you could find anything I'm talking about there. And for those of you that are watching the recording of the call, you could go on Reddit and you could find the document, the link to the document. It's the same every week, and I archive all of the old agendas, so you could basically have access to anything that I talk about in this call. And I think I'm actually gonna link it in the YouTube description as well. So we had a really richly done paper called A Ratings-Based Model for Credit Events in MakerDAO by Alex Evans. So props to him. That's exactly the kind of stuff that I love to see from our governance community. And then there was also this kind of tangent conversation going on about using rep as collateral. So just to update you guys, there are several people in our community that think using rep is a bad idea because of the forkability uh, of the token and how Maker as a protocol has to deal with that. Joey Krug actually came on himself to our forum and talked a bit about it and proposed a couple of solutions to the problem. And so this is an ongoing conversation. So if you guys have things to say about it, definitely join the forum and read up. It's an interesting conversation nonetheless. So that's about it for governance. Definitely look out for this Thursday's governance and risk call. It's going to be interesting as usual. It happens at the same time as this community call. So yeah. And by the way, I know we're low on people today because of the Calibra hearings, but feel free to interrupt me, guys, if you want to add onto anything. I know Matthew in the call and Akiva in the call are both super privy to the governance side of MakerDAO, so feel free to add anything if I missed it. All right, so I'm going to move forward. Besides the governance stuff, we had one partnership this week announced. It was between Acropolis and Dai. So Acropolis creates safeguards against inflation and economic crises through technology. I think they are, I forget exactly what they are. If I'm not mistaken, they're kind of like, geez, I read the article, but I can't remember exactly what the platform is because it does a lot of things. Yeah, so Acropolis provides a platform and toolkit for scalable, well-coordinated, and transparent informal economies. It enables people to build, scale, and professionalize informal financial organizations via their comprehensive, user-friendly, and complete platform. So I guess they are like a DeFi platform, similar.
Yes, let me add something. It's a really cool project based on some like African way to save money, in which families and group of friends all they gather in a group, and all the members of that group need to allow the entrance of a new member, and once they have this group, you can start like lending to the people inside that group, and well, it's like a mini DAO with
Yeah,
friends and families.
it's like a community savings pool.
Yeah,
Yeah,
kind of.
I got it. That's cool. Yeah, I've heard about those things before, just not using the blockchain, but like more informally organized. Uh, and I heard that they contribute a lot to like the bettering of those people that actually implement such a system.
Yes, those kind of organizations were pretty popular where there is no banking at all, and people like get together in order to help each other.
And so Acropolis is a platform that facilitates that specific organization of like method of doing things. Mariana, you there? I think you're muted, bro.
I was muted. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's correct. The platform will allow you to form those groups and to well have some reputation and lend money. It will be cool if we can have some of the Acropolis people here to talk about it.
Yeah, maybe I should reach out to them because there tends to be so many projects that I don't give them the attention they deserve. So definitely, I think I'm gonna reach out to them this week and see if they want to come in and talk about their platform a bit. That's a good idea. Yeah, cool. So moving forward, that's about it for partnerships and integrations this week. Mariana, do you know of any others? I feel like I'm missing somebody.
No, that I know.
All right, cool. So moving forward, yeah. So there was one interview this week, a video interview with I think it was Bod is the name of the YouTube channel, and they interviewed Rune Christensen, our founder and CEO, about the Dai stablecoin, and it's a super good introductory kind of intro to Dai. So check it out if you are into interviews more than anything. And then from the Maker blog this week, we had the collateral onboarding guide come out, which was a very highly anticipated blog post from the governance community. So internally, Maker Risk team has been doing a ton of work to document exactly what collateral onboarding looks like, the kind of due diligence required, and so an entire uh, sort of framework has been released on our GitHub, which is linked in that blog post. So check it out. Uh, and obviously, this is kind of a step one. It's going to be iterated on as we move forward into the future. But nevertheless, this is kind of the first public iteration of a collateral onboarding guide for MakerDAO. So that's really exciting stuff. I know that Cyrus has been working on that for quite a bit of time to get it just right. So yeah. So besides that, that's all the kind of official stuff and governance stuff. We had a couple of great things come out of the community, specifically this one article that I want to spend some time talking about. But we saw one person came out with a similar thing to Awesome MakerDAO, except for Dai use cases. So there's a use Dai repo, and he's been building it out slowly but surely. I've been kind of looking at the page every now and then, but he categorizes Dai usage into like agencies and consultants, charities and tipping, e-commerce, finance, investment trading, freelancers, marketplaces, other, and payments, and then just like a random section. But it's really cool to see community generated lists of Dai use cases, because I know that the one that well, actually, this would be a great point to make, is that we do have Awesome MakerDAO, and Awesome MakerDAO isn't exclusively uh, maintained and contributed to by the foundation. So if you're a community member and you want to add Dai use cases, uh, you can do it on your own list. That's totally cool. But we also welcome pull requests. Anybody who wants to add to Awesome MakerDAO can. It's super simple. All you need is a GitHub account, and you don't need any special permissions. You could just create a pull request, and I will see it. And if it has good stuff in it, we'll add it in. And I think for Awesome MakerDAO, we have had, since its launch, we've had, I think, 20 different contributors. So truly like a community built repo of resources. So yeah, that was really cool to see. Some developer creations. So CDP Saver has rebranded to DeFi Saver because they are going to be doing, they're going to be organizing their model more akin to like InstaDApp. So they're going to be integrating and making basically interoperable usage of various DeFi apps. One example is like Compound and InstaDApp, right? So DeFi Saver is going to be doing similar things. And also, just to mention, DeFi Saver has a CDP marketplace live on mainnet. So definitely check it out if you guys are interested in trading or selling your CDP. Uh, so besides that, we also saw StablePay come out with uh, a video, a teaser of their widget tool. So uh, you'll be able to actually embed this tool into anybody's website, and you could accept donations, you could accept payments in Dai, uh, and you can accept basically any ERC20 token, and the widget converts it to Dai. So pretty cool. That's going to be great for like online shopping stores, because I know uh, before Maker, when I was trying to start my own online shopping thing with Dai, it was really hard to find a solution to accept Dai. And something like a widget tool that you could just stick in, embed in a website, would be super freaking helpful. So good on them for making that. So yeah, the couple of articles that came out this week, one of them was especially awesome. But before I talk about that one, there was the blog post that came out from SportsX about what they learned from a $10,000 betting competition. Uh, and I think so they ran a 10,000 Dai uh, promotion for people using their platform. Basically, uh, they gave out 10,000 Dai across 10 places, and it all had to do with the people who won their bets the most on the SportsX platform. And they had a bunch of really interesting insights about how efficient this kind of thing is, and the feedback that they got, and how they're going to be changing in the future with similar promotions. But thought it was a really interesting post. The other one that I want to talk about is a post by Hunter Gibran, and it's called MakerDAO 18th Century Edition. And this has been probably one of like the most original articles I've seen in the last month or two. It explores early America and their use of colonial land banks and the similarities of that whole system to MakerDAO. So uh, yes, definitely. I'll link it in just 1 second. And so the premise of the article was basically that when America became America, they were suffering a lot of hard currency shortage because of the imbalance between imports and exports between Britain and the U.S. So all the colonies were basically struggling for actual money, so much so that they started using the first form of fiat money, which was a certificate for an amount of tobacco that was held in warehouses. So people were trading these like tobacco certificates in place of like hard money because they had no hard money. All of it was being pretty much used to buy imports from Britain, and that's the whole idea of the meritocracy, where Britain was basically getting rich off of the early colonies, and to combat this and to have some more balance. Uh, I forgot who exactly, but the idea of a colonial land bank was created, and the colonial land bank basically took a citizen's land, or not. I don't know if they had citizenship back then, but it took somebody's land as collateral, and they would lend you fiat money against it up to half the value of your land. So it was an over collateralized loan. They created basically fiat money backed by land, uh, and the loan was to be paid back in a specific time frame with interest. And the interest on the loans was actually used by the colonial government for public works, and thus like structurally lowered taxes for the overall population. Uh, and and so it was really interesting. And their fiat money that they issued in the Colonial Land Bank was actually pegged to the British pound sterling. Uh, and so it's just really, really fascinating how, and like how almost perfectly like the system mirrors MakerDAO. And so this ability to actually like get liquidity from the assets that they had on hand without necessarily selling the assets or giving them up, but utilizing them in like a loan, uh, that gave rise to a lot of utility economically. It gave people capital that they could use to invest in their farms, that they could use to pay workers, that they could buy goods and services with, and the same way that MakerDAO auto liquidates CDPs that are going under, colonial land banks would, if you're defaulting on the loan, they would sell off the collateral to cover the outstanding debt and interest, and the difference, if any was left over, would be given to the original borrower. So, very, very interesting comparison, and I had a lot of enjoyment reading that article. So, props, props to Hunter for writing it. So yeah. And besides that, there was a couple of good threads, judging by comment activity and stuff. There was a thread by, I forgot, I think it was Late Tot. Yeah, so user Late Tot on Reddit, talking about the proposal to vote in a basically a stability fee schedule that takes into account like the Dai peg. So if the Dai price is less than 96 cents, then the stability fee should be X, and then if Dai price is 98 cents, the stability fee should be like X plus one or something. And it was like a super simple proposal, but obviously like there's a lot of nuance to it. Uh, you have to take into account things like time, right? How long has Dai been off the peg for? it's a soft peg. You're gonna reasonably see Dai moving around it, so it doesn't make sense to always be adjusting the stability fee, although maybe it might. But either way, really, really interesting thread. There was a bunch of great comments in there, and actually, there's even a thread in forum.makerdao.com that talks a bit about this. So yeah. And the other good thread that I highlighted this week was about the reasons interest costs are more to generate Dai using MakerDAO CDP than to borrow on Compound. So for people that are, a lot of people are coming into DeFi now, and a lot of people are learning about kind of monetary policy, how interest rates work, like pretty much the world of finance unhinged, right? And so the newer people coming in ask reasonable questions. And so like this thread asked why it's more expensive to borrow on Maker than Compound, which is a pretty simple question. And the community really lit up that thread with a lot of great answers. So it was really great to see that, and definitely a thread worth highlighting if you're new to the space and curious about a question like that. That's it for all the community stuff that I wanted to highlight. Definitely feel free to add anything if you guys are on the call. I'm gonna move into just some real life events that are going on this week and upcoming. And then if we want to talk, we could talk. And if not, today's a bit of a down day. We could end the call a bit early. So real life events. The two big ones that we're going to be participating in are the 3 different conferences in Berlin Blockchain Week, which is coming up on towards the end of August, August 19th through the 28th. There's going to be Web3 Summit, DAppCon, ETH Berlin, and a bunch of other kind of like peripheral events. But we're going to be around and participating. So if you're there, can't wait to meet you. And then in Japan in October, we're going to be in DevCon in Osaka. So stay tuned for that. I'm sure there's going to be a lot of peripheral events then, but that's all the way in October. So we're not going to worry about that. Yeah, DevCon, man. Get your tickets. Get your tickets. But yeah, so this week, there's only 2 events that I saw. We have one in Singapore called WS Marvels, and our community manager Jocelyn is going to be over there representing. And WS Marvels is let me just read for a second. Yeah, so announcing World Esports and Blockchain Summit Marvels at Singapore. So it's going to be around esports and blockchain, so which is exciting because esports is blowing up as an industry. And then we have on the 17th. Oh yeah, so that's actually happening today. WBS Marvels. And so tomorrow in Hong Kong, our BD representative Do, he's going to be I think doing a presentation at Blockchain Gamer and Pocket Gamer Connects Hong Kong 2019 event. So Do has been doing the Lord's work out in the APAC region. But yeah, those are the only 2 events that are going on this week. Nothing too crazy. And that about finishes it up. So thank you guys for listening to me rant for half an hour about what's been going on in Maker for last week. But yeah, I'm happy to open it up to conversation, questions, whatever you guys like. So in the chat, so Pierre Andera writes, sorry, I started now learning about how MakerDAO works. Can I ask the link of the thread on MakerDAO and Compound? Thanks for all the info. Yeah, absolutely, man. That's exactly why I highlighted the thread. So here you go, man. Here's the thread. And also, here's a link to a Google Doc that has the agenda for the call, and it has links to basically everything I talked about. So feel free to check it out. And there's also links to all the previous community call stuff that I talked about in past calls. No problem, man.
I got a question. At one point, there used to be a map for where places in the world were accepted with Bitcoin. Has anybody done that for Dai?
Not that I've seen. Not that I've seen. Yeah.
To be fair, I think the map would be quite unpopulated at the moment. Like we've gotten a lot more traction within DeFi and with other on-chain services than we really have in retail off-chain kind of on boots on the ground services.
Great.
Agreed. And also, like, there is one thing that I think was really exciting in the last couple of weeks is our partnership with that Bitcoin ATM company. They were one of the bigger ones, and I know at least in the States they had like just a ton of ATMs that are now going to be vending Dai. Yeah, I forget what exactly the name of the company was. Yeah, CoinSource. Yeah, a Texas-based Bitcoin ATM operator. So I mean, yeah, definitely not as popular as Bitcoin, but we'll be there. We'll be there soon enough. All right. So Akiva has a question for Mariano. Is Taringa concerned that there isn't enough collateral to back Dai for the entire platform? Because he said they want it to be used everywhere in Taringa, but the Dai market cap is still small.
No, but that's a good question. It's not related to the total market cap of Dai, but rather with the parity of Taringa points and Dai. So we don't need to worry about that.
I mean, unless you see like a bank run on Taringa points trying to convert into Dai, right? But I think my more practical answer would be that if you look at the usage, like the utilization rate of, say, on Facebook or on Snapchat or kind of on other social media services when they've integrated payment solutions, I think the utilization rate is always somewhere between 1% and 3%. So even though Taringa has quite a few users, I think that the market, the supply of Dai, even as it currently stands, wouldn't really be the limiting factor here.
Yeah, that's correct. You're welcome.
They are Taringa's only doing it as a pilot to start, right? They're not opening up to the entire platform.
They will be starting this pilot program with a community that they already been doing something similar with Bitcoin in 2014. It's called Pioneros, in which you can create content, but they will be open this program to other communities while they are rolling also these educational initiatives around crypto and that.
Nice, makes sense. All right, cool. Well, if there is nothing else, I think we can end the call a bit early and get back to listening to Calibra and Congress. Fun.
See you guys. Thanks, David.
All right. Thank you, everybody, for coming on the call as usual. I will see you guys next week. And I hope you all have a wonderful week.
See you guys. Bye-bye.